It is official. Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced in his federal criminal case. We are going to discuss everything that happened inside that courtroom, including the bombshell decision by the judge.
What if one of hip-hop's most powerful moguls, a man who built an empire on music, fashion, and influence, suddenly found himself facing years behind bars? That's exactly where Sean Diddy Combs stands today. On Friday, October 3rd, Judge Arun Subramanian sentenced the 54-year-old icon to 50 months in federal prison, along with a $500,000 fine tied to 2 counts of transportation related to prostitution.
After 2 years from when Cassie Ventura Fine filed her lawsuit against Sean Combs, after an investigation, after a raid, after the Cassie tape was published by CNN, after an apology video, after an arrest, after multiple indictments, superseding indictments, after an 8-week trial over the summer where Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but convicted of transportation to engage in prostitution, namely transporting people across state and international lines for sex work, he was sentenced for his crimes today. Judge Arun Subramanian in federal court in downtown Lower Manhattan sentenced the rap mogul. Just handed down the sentence a few minutes ago at the time of this recording. Now, to be clear, why this is such a big deal, other than the fact that Sean Combs has been sentenced for federal sex crimes, we had no idea what the actual sentence will be. There is no pro forma mandatory sentence here, like a life in prison. It's just a standard. We know what's going to happen. No, there was a range for this judge. The defense was asking for no more than 14 months in prison. And since Sean Combs had already served about 13 months in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, he essentially would be out in no time if that was the case. The prosecution was asking for 11 years. The probation department that did its own analysis recommended 7 years and 3 months.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. This fight isn't over. Outside the courthouse, Diddy's defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, made it crystal clear. The legal team is refusing to back down. An appeal is already in motion, setting the stage for a high-stakes courtroom battle that could drag on for months, maybe even years. So, is this the end of Diddy's empire, or just another chapter in a saga that refuses to be?
What were some of the key arguments, the themes that stood out today about why they say it was justified for Sean Combs to have a lengthy sentence? Remember, they were asking for 11 years. How did they justify it today? What were the arguments they made in court?
Well, today, Christy Slavik, making the arguments on behalf of the government, she said that today is about accountability and justice. And she was talking specifically about accountability, Jesse. She was talking about the conduct that was lasting for a 15-year period. I mean, even if you go back to the superseding indictments where it says this conduct went on from 2009 all the way to 2024, that's a long period of time. And so from the government's perspective, they really just wanted accountability from the defendant, that being Sean Combs. And then they also wanted justice particularly for the victims. I know when we often talk about the Sean Combs case, the Diddy case, the P. Diddy case, he is the focus of this, but I think a lot of people have to remember that there were victims in this case, that being Cassie Ventura, that being Jane, that also kind of also applying to some of the charges that he was acquitted for too, where you can also bring in like Mia and Capricorn Clark and Deontay Nash. And so I think the government from their perspective was really trying to speak on behalf of all of those people. And so today, Christy Slavik, again, she was saying that the law requires the court to know all about the defendant and the defendant's conduct. This isn't just a case about freak-offs and hotel nights. It's about a man who did horrible things to people. He weaponized currency against victims. They were talking about that even though he was convicted just on the Mann Act charges, that it's also kind of in relation to the violence, and that the defendant didn't understand or doesn't understand how harsh his conduct was, and that his respect for the law was just something as simple as lip service. And so, yes, the government was asking for a far steeper penalty and punishment.
Be silenced. Stay tuned, because this story is far from finished. On Friday in New York City, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, told reporters he's confident an appeal will turn the tables. His main argument? The jury's decision rested too heavily on coercion, a word the judge repeated nearly a dozen times during sentencing. According to Agnifilo, that's unconstitutional, and he insists the jury's verdict should carry more weight than the judge's interpretation. "We're going to appeal. We think we're right," he said, adding that he doesn't believe Diddy will face a harsher sentence in the process. But inside the courtroom, emotions ran high. Diddy pulled out all the stops, surrounding himself with family support. His mother, Janice Combs, his children Delilah, Jesse, Chance, Christian, and Justin.
When it came to Sean Combs' sentencing, they were hoping for those double digits, and I think they were kind of opposed to the whole split the baby method, as Christy Slavic said today in court. And so they did want a harsher end of the sentencing today. And I think as far as the judge's concern and what his ultimate sentence would be, it kind of ended up being a kind of happy medium a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And the defense. Number of defense attorneys spoke. I think almost all of them. You had Xavier Donaldson, you had Brian Steele. What were some of the themes they were focusing on in terms of why Sean Combs deserves a lenient sentence, why 14 months would be appropriate?
Yeah, so right off the bat, Jason Driscoll making the arguments on behalf of the defense, because Jesse, yes, it was Jason Driscoll who spoke. It was Nicole Westmoreland who spoke, Xavier Donaldson who spoke, Mark Agnifilo, and Brian Steele. That's 5 of his, 9 defense attorneys who all spoke in court today. So as far as Jason Driscoll is concerned, he was saying that the defense says that Combs didn't make money off of the Mann Act convictions that he was charged. And that was kind of a big theme in terms of his argument today, and that the defense submitted 300 cases of Mann Act cases where it talked about pimps and minors being trafficked, immigrants being transported, homeless people being transported.
Along with Justin's mother, Misa Hilton, were all there. Even Quincy Brown, the son of Kim Porter and Albie Shore, made an appearance. His children delivered heartfelt statements to the judge, pleading for leniency. Diddy himself submitted a handwritten letter asking for mercy, saying he had changed. And in a dramatic move, his team even presented an 11-minute documentary-style video painting a picture of his personal life and career. Friday was the day Sean Diddy Combs finally faced the weight of justice. Judge Aaron Subramanian looked the fallen mogul in the eye and declared that his crimes, along with the abuse of his ex-girlfriends, demanded a sentence of 50 months in prison and a $500,000 fine. For 20 long minutes, the judge described how Diddy used his fame and power to subjugate his victims. And yet, Combs sat still, downcast, expressionless, not daring to look up. But when it was over, the moment shifted. Diddy turned in his seat, facing more than 30 family members and friends who had packed the courtroom to support him. His lips moved silently, but those close enough could read the words. "I love you. I'm sorry," a chilling end to a verdict that may define the rest of his life. Now, with an appeal looming, the spotlight only intensifies. Will Diddy manage to overturn his sentence, or is this the defining chapter of a once untouchable empire? One thing is certain, the world will be watching every step of this legal showdown. This case is only getting bigger, and the next chapter could change everything. What do you think? Will Diddy's legal team win on appeal, or is this the final verdict on his legacy? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit like, share this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the latest updates on this unfolding story.